Johnny, I'm ready to rock and dance.
Rock and dance, yeah. Well, I'm the dancer. You can be the rocker.
That's exactly. I'm a rocker. More like a mod.
Okay, let's go for it. Okay then. Hello and welcome to our post-Grimsby edition of the Gordy Gubbs Podcast, as we look back at arguably the worst defeat in Manchester United history and tackle the question of where do we go from here. Here in the UK, I'm John Gubba, and over in Seattle, the king of all Cockneys, Gordon Hill. How are you, Gordon?
Fine, thanks very much.
Gordon, you've seen some highs and lows at Manchester United, but how low is this latest defeat, do you think, for Ruben Amorim's team, Grimsby, a team in the 4th division of the English Football League? I mean, they call it the League Two, but it's the 4th tier of English football. And if we're being honest, United were totally dominated, I thought, in the first 30 minutes of the Carabao Cup tie. And United with a team that looked like the 4th division team to me. It was an absolute shambles. How do you think Ruben Amorim can pick his team up for the Burnley match on Saturday? And listening to him after the game, he did sound a bit like a broken man, I thought.
Well, I watched the game, and the second half was obviously a little bit better because we got back into the game. But it's very hard to put your finger on something that is broken in so many places in a game that you look at who you'd play, you'd look at where they'd play, you look at, are they in the right positions, are they in the right frame of mind? And we're talking about Grimsby. Now, Grimsby are great. Grimsby, in the old days, it would have been the 4th division. It was a great performance by them, which was a typical League Cup game. No arguments about it. But because of our Premier League form, we are under the pressure of we've got to win, we've got to win, we've got to win. And yet I think that is playing so much of a big problem that the emphasis now on got to win, that we're losing the fact that we've got to start playing first before we can start winning. And we got to put everything into our playing to get the results. And everybody knows that this result that we've got against Grimsby, I watched, they were cracking goals. Grimsby deserved it. Grimsby wanted it. Grimsby wanted to go out and play. Grimsby should have wrapped it up in the first 90 minutes. But then you've got the likes of, say, Harry Maguire and co. He comes into it with a life-saving header. And then we go into the penalty set. Penalties are hit and miss. We saw it. We've seen it. It went up so many, 10-10, 9-9, 8-7. So it was a case of who missed at that time. But it shouldn't have gone to that. The manager was perfectly right in what he said, that it should have been wrapped up in the first 90 minutes. But having said that, I just looked at the way that some of the players, the demeanour didn't look right to me. Even the new boys looked as though they were sinking back into the old way again, which cannot happen. Whether it is Amorim's way of playing, whether it is Amorim's formation, whether it's what he's saying, it is not working, and it didn't work. And I'm not saying sack the guy. I'm not saying keep the guy. I just have not at this moment in time made a decision on which would be the best way for United to go. It's hard for me to say it. We've seen results in the league in the League Cup in the last couple of days, John, but we haven't seen something like this that has really, really highlighted where we really are.
Problem is, Gordon, it's been a series of lows, and this feels like the lowest of the low. But you say United have got to win, but the reality is, in the last 11 Premier League games, we've won 1. And since Ruben Amorim took charge, we've played more games than we've got points. I think it's 29 games, 28 points. So, if we replicate that over a season, that's actually relegation form. So, everybody said after the end of last season, things can't get any worse. But the reality is, things are just as bad as last season. And if we don't turn the tide, it potentially can be worse than last season. And, I think you're like me. You'd like to see Ruben succeed because you're a Man United fan. You want to see Man United succeed. But the reality is, for me, hearing him speak after the game, he sounded like a guy who was broken and beaten. I mean, just to read you one of his quotes, he said, "If we don't show up, you can feel that something has to change, and you're not going to change 22 players again." And for me, that sounds like a guy that either is thinking of resigning or he knows he's in danger of losing his job. But I think that the thing that will save him at the moment, because to me, he looks like a dead man walking, and he has the look of what we saw previously with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Erik ten Hag when they got to the final days. He looks like a man who's run out of time. But he hasn't run out of time for one good reason, because Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have changed everything around. They've put their reputation on picking Ruben Amorim and making him come mid-season when he didn't want to come. And if they sack him now, it's really a reflection on them having done a bad job in steering the football club. So I feel that they're going to give him a bit more time. The problem he's got now is we've got Burnley at home in the Premier League. Always a tricky game for us. If we don't win that game, if we only get a draw, for example, we'll have 2 points from 3 games. And our next 2 games will be away at Man City and then Chelsea. So quite feasible that come game match day 5, the end of match day 5, it could be bottom of the league. And, when you get there, it's hard to get up again, isn't it?
Well, you've just said that, John. But on the other hand, I look at it on a more deeper thought. Is the guy came in when he did. He's been given about 5 months to be able to prepare a squad. Can you imagine if he had gone in the summer with only 5-6 weeks to work with players, to get the players he wanted to sign, to get the troublesome players out of the way? He's had 5 months to get his organisation, his administration sorted out. He's brought in his coaches. He's brought in a new way, a new system, so to speak, as we look at it. He's had 5 months in which to do it. You can imagine just giving him a couple of months to be able to do this, what's coming through. Would we be seeing that now that we saw last season? That's the biggest question. To me, he's had 5 months to sort out what he wants, who he wants, how he's going to play. He's been on the training field doing that, and now he comes out and he's now says he's beyond belief. Yeah, he does look a worried man. Yeah, he does look concerned. Yeah, of course his head's in his hands because he expected results. He expected his system to work, and he's gone out and he bought the players that he wants for his system. But it's like a jigsaw puzzle. He hasn't fulfilled that jigsaw puzzle. He hasn't put it together. And I think, will he have the time? Will they give him the time to put that together? Will he be able to change everything? Or will it just be a case in point of, well, there's another one gone. Thanks very much. Back to square one. Pay him off. The cost to pay him off. A new man comes in, doesn't like these players. Thanks very much. You're back to square one again. So you're a devil if you do, and you're a devil if you don't. So Ineos, at the end of the day, are going to be saying, I think we better look to see what we can do. But he's obviously got like a yellow card on him at the moment, John. And I think that yellow card will disappear if he can start to get that team to put out on the field, and not that team on the field is 2 categories to me. It's Amorim's team, and there is a United team. And that ain't United team that I saw yesterday, and it was demoralising to actually watch. Don't take nothing away from Grimsby. They done and played well, and I would have congratulated them. But to give it to go out like that would have broken my heart as a player.
I mean, Grimsby was actually fantastic. I mean, from a neutral point of view, anybody watching that game would have found it totally absorbing. And the right team won. All United fans would have to agree, I'm sure, that Grimsby deserved to win that game. But what I get tired of is all these excuses. I mean, we see lots of other managers at other clubs come in and turn things around. Why does he need 5 months to tread water? I think, for me, have we not reached a point where he's got to admit his way is the wrong way, and he's got to try to win games? Because he basically wrote off last season saying, there was going to be painful times ahead. because his players that he had when he came weren't the players that he wanted, and they couldn't play his system. But the reality is, you know, you'd be much better off just settling in, having a look, and getting the team in a better position than he's created this problem for himself, I feel, because he's dug himself into a massive hole by insisting on this formation, which consequently left United in 15th place. We didn't show up for the Europa League final, and now he's been under pressure to hit the ground running from the start of the new season, and partly because we didn't get the signings quickly enough, which I'd blame the owners, to be honest, because if you're going to back a manager, back him. You know, they didn't get the players in early enough, so he didn't really have the summer to work with the players. I mean, Sesko didn't start the first 2 games because he didn't have him early enough, and I still think he should have started with him earlier, but he said he wasn't ready. So, but he should have been ready if we'd signed him earlier. We didn't get Mbomo till quite late on, and we spent about 7 weeks trying to argue over a relatively small amount of money, whereas if we'd spent the money in the first place and got the player in, he'd have been much more settled into the side. So. And also, we haven't got a goalkeeper. I mean, what we're doing with the goalkeeper, I mean, you know, he obviously lost faith in Onana, and then he throws him back in for this game, which has actually made things 10 times worse. But I wouldn't blame the goalkeeper for the defeat, even though he was at fault probably for both of the goals. For me, United lost because we were rubbish. There's no other way of putting it. We weren't very good. We lost because we weren't a good enough team, and the other team were better than us, not because we had a poor goalkeeper. But then if you look at a whole season, you can't get anywhere if you haven't got a good goalkeeper, in my mind. And you know, do you not think in these last few days of the window, we've got to get somebody now? It's time's running out. The window closes at the weekend.
I totally agree with you, and it all goes back to what you said about getting these players in early enough. He's had 5 months to get them in and breed them, and put them into a system. My advice to Emma now, and I tell you, mate, and I don't care what anybody says, go back to a 4-4-2 and let them go out and put one order on them. Go and score goals. That's it. There's nothing more. You can't say, oh, I want you to do this, and this. You go out there, you score goals. I don't care how you create them. I want goals. I want the ball in the back of their net. Give them a little bit more freedom. Don't restrict the players that can play in positions to players that can't play in those positions. Stop trying to satisfy every Tom, Dick and Harry in that squad. Your job is to get a result. You pick players to give you results. If they play well, they get a game next week. If they play well, they get a game the week after. Those players sitting on a bench have got to say to themselves, when I get on that field, that position is mine. That's what I feel and see what is missing. You got my shirt at number 11. I want it back. When I get on the field, I'm not your pal. And when I step over that line, nobody's my friend, because you're your own friend on that field. When you go out there, you want to be able to secure that position. I think that go out there, that, oh yeah, we can play. It's great playing together, but you've got to get your own game in order before you can play with anybody else. And to me, that's the only thing I would say. Talking's gone. You now got to get out there. You're playing Burnley at the weekend. You've got to get out there. I don't want this, and this, because we spent 5 months doing it. I want you now out there. I want a team that's going to go out there and bust their ass and get goals and score. That's all I'm interested in, putting the ball in the back of the net. I think the emphasis has been on, pretty, relying on people like Harry Maguire as a leading goal scorer with the headers. Absolutely scandalous, And I look at it and I just go, right, Sesko, you got 6'4", 6'5". Chesko, you're up there. Feed him. Don't just give him one crop. Feed him. Let him clout people. Let him get in. Let the referee warn him. Let the referee give him a card. Because if you don't, he's going to shrivel and he's going to be an isolated centre forward that doesn't know when he's going to get it, and he doesn't know how he's going to get it. But I tell you, if you feed him, and I'm talking about my old position, wingers, throw the ball into the mixer. People say, oh, well, we don't do that. Get out of it. People say don't play the long ball. If the long ball gets me a goal, I'm going to get 10 of them. You can't say, well, the system today's game is not that. Well, we just won 3-0. And I didn't play any system. I let them go out there. Now we'll see. And I've seen all the systems. I've seen the managers, John. I've seen the Chelsea manager. I've seen Arteta. Feel this, do this, do this, do this. I've seen the Liverpool do this, do this, do this. Liverpool go down, and you say, "I've got a result." No, you don't get results until the referee blows that final whistle. So you keep cracking away, and if they give you 2 goals, go for 3. Grimsby, John, were lucky that they didn't get that 3rd goal. And everybody would have said, "Oh my gosh, it's wrap-up time." Grimsby, hey, that's only a bigger. Hey, you've got 2 goals against us. And I go back to what the doc used to say: I don't mind them scoring 2 as long as we score 3. I think people say, "Oh yeah, the game's changed." It ain't. You still got to put the ball in the back of the net for a result. And at the end of the day, John, you look at the results: 1-2-0, 1-2-1, 1-1-0. You got 9 points at the moment. What points have we got? We got 1 point. 1 point. That would absolutely. I would definitely go in there and put it a 4-4-2. Simple, very simple. I would saturate that centre forwards and the midfielders with that ball. Let's take the game to them instead of waiting for them to bring the game to us. Grimsby brought their game. They got their 2 goals, and United's alarm bells went, "Oh my God, look at this." I don't know, John. I don't know if they're going to keep him or sack him, but I tell you what, I would go in a heartbeat in there. And first thing I would do in there says, I'm not interested in styles of play and everything else. I want goals. That's the only style of play that wins your games, John. Everybody talks about systems, formations, and players playing here, and inverted this and inverted that. No, I want the ball in the 6 yard. I want it in the mixer. I want it in their penalty area every chance we possibly get. You're going to get a break. You have to, John. We've seen the penalty decisions being given. We've seen the players getting tapped and going down for penalties.
A lot of the fans of my era, when you said, "I don't mind you scoring 2 if we score 3," for me, that's the United way. And all these young people now and these young coaches, we seem to get blinded by all this information. And we've said it before, it's a simple game complicated by coaches. But a few things that put me off Ruben last night, even though I still hope he's going to do it and I still want him to do it and I still like him, I was a little bit lost because this was a typical English FA Cup style cup tie, okay, League Cup, the giant and the minnows. But he's sitting there with magnets on a tactics board. For me, the tactics are out the window. It should have been like, let's get the ball up and score a goal, like what you were saying. And the other thing that put me off was the fact that when we were having the penalties, we were sitting there in the dugout and he couldn't watch. It's like, for me, that's not a good example to the players. I remember the Champions League final. Fergie was standing there staring at the goal, almost willing the ball in. And, for me,
Yep.
it was a weak signal to see Ruben Amorim hiding behind his staff, sitting on the bench. And then the third thing was the post-match interview. For me, that was a meltdown. That was a guy who's lost his way, who doesn't know what to do. I hope he wakes up today and he prepares for the Burnley game. And I'd respect him a lot more if he says, "I've made a mistake. Let's change the formation. Let's do what you say. Let's go to a different, 4-4-2 or 3-5-2 or whatever. Let's change the formation and get the best out of the players we've got." Because that, for me, has been his downfall. Instead of getting the best out of the players he's got, which is his job at the end of the day, he's trying to make a system work when he hasn't got the tools for the system. And then he keeps coming on and saying, "Well, it's not about the system." But the reality is, it is about the system, because when he picks his team, he's picking his team to fit that formation. And that's, for me, is why we're having a problem in midfield, for example, because I've heard a lot of ex-players talking about it over the last week, when we've got 2 players in midfield on the axis and we're up against 3. So we're getting overrun too often. And Bruno Fernandes, we've got too many number 10s as well. We've got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Mason Mount, we've got Ahmad, we've got Cunha, we've got Mbomo. They're all number 10s.
Yes.
But we haven't got we haven't got a midfield general, and we haven't got a goalkeeper. So, we're supposed to have this new recruitment that knows what they're doing, but do they really know what they're doing? Unless they've timed it to perfection and they get Donnarumma to be the goalkeeper before the transfer deadline closes on Sunday. What do you think?
John, a lot of it is all academics. Academics, A to B, B to C, C to D. My question is, what happens if B don't run? You're screwed. And it's the same, you're playing A to B, B to C. We look at it last night and yesterday in the game, A to B, B to C. And if C doesn't run, you're screwed. And that's what the academics are taking over. They sit there with their computers and look at that. Computers have never won a game. They've never won a game. Books have never won a game until we start to get out of this. And but I got a degree in this. Yeah, I've scored 25 goals, mate. What have you done? So basically, you're looking at that side of it, and that side of the game is being taken over. We've got too many people sitting there analysing. Well, he's short of breath on here and short of breath on there. And we've got all these newfangled gadgets at Carrington now that can tell everything about a player. I tell you what, they're all wrong. Because I look at the players and I'm saying, holy moly, he ain't got no run in him. He hasn't got no energy. And basically, I'm talking as a former professional player and a professional coach now that looks at watching and seeing football that I don't recognise. 1 step forward, 5 steps backwards. Yes, it's great knocking it about everything else. Yeah. We've got goalkeepers. We've always said goalkeepers have got to be as good with their feet as they are with their hands. And it's only in recent now that goalkeepers are making boo-boos, bad decisions, and goals are being scored against them. I don't think you got that a few years ago. I don't think you got that in the Fergie situation. I don't think you got that in the Doherty. What's frustrating me is watching this academics looking, like you said, John, looking at a board, moving a magnet. Holy moly, dear oh dear, they're moving magnets. The bottom line is you've got 11 players out there, you've got subs sitting on the bench, and you're all out there to get one thing, and that is a result. When I step over that white line at Old Trafford when I played, I had no friends at all. Why? Because I tell you, I wanted to put the ball in the back of the net. Do you know what the best run in the game of football is, John? The best run to everybody out there is the one when you run back to the halfway line when you've scored the goal, because it's brilliant. And I've done it many times. I can't see it now. I don't see it. And it's very, very frustrating. I see it all over the world. I see it here in Seattle. It's like, oh, pretty football.
I do feel when I'm watching a lot of United games that, we've got a lot of good players, so it can't be that difficult to get them to perform. So it's got to be down to the coaching, because, whether it's a formation or whether it's the information that they're given during the week, are they given too much information? I know they have lots of team meetings and we have all this analysis like you talked about.
Academics, John. We go on a blackboard and we draw it out on a blackboard, but it never comes out on the field. Why? Because players are completely different. Their mentality is. It's a completely different mentality. Most of my players, most of my friends, most of the former players, they look at a computer and they struggle. Put them on a soccer field, and I tell you what, put them on a football pitch, and I tell you what, they look maestros because they know the game inside out. That is what is missing. And I look at it, and you and I sit here talking about it. We talk to supporters. I get messages all the time. I get questions all the time. I've opened up my Twitter for people to ask me questions. What's it like out in the field? I do not and could not tell you that feeling on the field. I could not tell you that feeling when I put the ball in the back of the net. I cannot tell you that feeling when we're down against Porto 4-0 and we come back with 5 goals. I can't give you that feeling, but I tell you what, it's an absolute breeze when you come off. So when they talk about this and the players disillusioned and they come out and they get their comments and their post media talking and all that, then it comes out, well, we should have done what should have could have been. You didn't do it. The result at the end of the day was it hit your backside and went in. What is the score? Doesn't tell you. Well, the end of the day is the result. It hit his backside and went. He was lucky. What was the score? 1-0. How many points did we pick up? 3. Thank you very much. See you next season. End of story. It's not that hard, John. And when you, as I said, when you step over that line as a player, your pride comes out to say, I don't want to get beaten today. I don't want to get beaten. I'm here to do. Old Trafford at one stage, John, was a fortress. You come there at your own will. You come there at your own, because I tell you something, you weren't going to get nothing from us. You got nothing from the supporters. Now you can come to Old Trafford and you could take points against United. And it's like, oh, well, we lost it. Hold on a minute. We go to Tottenham. We go to Arsenal. I name all the big ones, the Tottenhams, the Arsenals, the Liverpools. I'm not there to make you look good. I'm there to take points off you, snatch them and get out of there. Snatch them. That's how the rivalry, that's how your playing comes about. Doesn't come about now. It's like, after the game, yeah, well done, great and all that. Yeah, right. Shake their hands, say, well done, get in the shower.
You talk about United not being a fortress anymore, but like the game against Grimsby, the Grimsby fans were singing, "Can we play you every week?" And that's kind of how a lot of teams don't fear coming to Old Trafford. This game was away, of course, but teams don't fear coming to Old Trafford now. They look forward to coming to Old Trafford because it's a great stadium still, and they know they've got a chance of winning. I'm sure Burnley are coming on Saturday, fancying their chances. They'll have watched Grimsby beat United. They'll have watched United fans celebrate losing against Arsenal, and that's, for me, I can't understand that. Okay, we might have looked promising, but you don't celebrate a defeat. Go back to that game against Porto, and you said you had to come back from 4 goals down, and you scored 5. How did you score those 5 goals? Was it because you were following some tactical master plan, or was it because the players on the pitch raised their game and used their football intelligence to win the game? Because for me, I brought up on players from your era and before, but Bobby Moore was a great footballer. He wasn't the fastest footballer,
Brilliant.
but football brain. And for me,
Yes.
I've always admired players with football brains.
Martin Buchan's a classic. Absolutely could read any situation. I'd have him in the back. I tell you what, if you could remold him and have him, you'd have him in the back. Why? Because he could read, he could see, he could read situations. You don't get that from a freaking computer.
And that's for one of the reasons that I like Harry Maguire, because when the chips are down, Harry Maguire, time and time again, he's a player that steps up. And it's not because he's been coached to any fantastic degree. It's because he's a fighter and he never says die. And he pops up as a defender and scores goals. And it was only because of him that we got to the shootout last night. And I love Harry Maguire, even though he's not the most skillful player in the world, although he has had his moments. And he had that turn last year in the European game when he looked like Messi for a moment.
Every team has to have a couple of those.
But I feel that's what we're losing, because I feel like sometimes I look at the players and they look lost because they don't know what to do, because the information that they've been given isn't working, and they haven't got the ability or the confidence to be able to break free from a tactical plan that's not working, to actually change direction on the pitch and to do something different. But again, maybe that's down to the coach. Has he got the in-game management to be able to change a game? Because he's got this one formation and this one way of playing. Anybody can work us out. Even the Grimsby manager can work us out and how to play against us. And everybody's got a chance because you know exactly how Man United are going to play. So, for me, it's not a case of being stubborn and it's got to be his way or it doesn't work. For me, I'd admire him if he changed it up a little bit and show that he can play more than one way, and he actually concentrate on winning games rather than trying to prove a point that his system works.
John, there's a quote that we had that the doc used to come up with, and I'm sure Fergie is at the same. It's very simple. Winners drink champagne. Losers make your own bloody arrangements. We didn't make our own arrangements. And it's something that stepped and stayed with us. And I say that to most, and I turn around and say, I don't make my own arrangements. And that's because you've got pride and belief in what you're doing and going out there. The games I've played in that we've lost, tell you what, I remember those games as much as the games we won. Why? Because I missed chances. People say, Gordon, you scored a lot of goals. Yes, I did score a lot of goals. But I remember the ones I should have got, because the ones I got are in the bank. They're done. The ones I missed, the ones that I don't get. So at the end of the day, John, it's all about results. It's all about how much they take that red shirt, they put it on, and then next week there could be another club. And they put that shirt on and and they hold the badge. Please don't hold that badge in front of me. because that is taking the mickey out of it. That is really saying, look, no, you're not. And that's what I think. That's what I see is missing. I think they just go through the motion. I think Amorim's got a job and a half on his hands to do. I couldn't make a decision whether to keep him or get rid of him. Why? Because there's too many other complications go in, as we stated and spoke about earlier, John. Yeah, I'm in agreement with all the supporters. They deserve it. They deserve, every club goes through a bad patch. But starting off a new season like this, the warning bells have got to be up, and I think there's going to be a lot more moving. Players are upset. Players are not happy. Players want to move. Deals can't be sorted out because they want too much money. It accumulates and it all comes out 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon on the field. And we're seeing it, and we've seen it now. That the red shirts, there could be a team of red shirts come out, and after that, you could put 11 red shirts, lay them on the grass out there, John, and you'd get 50,000 people wanting to watch them.
We've reached a crossroads here. If we don't fix it, United are going to go downhill. I mean, no team has any right to stay at the top. We've got this great history which should inspire our future, but the reality is you still got to earn your future. Nobody owes you anything. And if we keep losing, eventually the club will start to wither because the sponsors will be associated with winners. And okay, we've got this fantastic global support, but if we keep losing and don't win trophies and don't play exciting football, the kids of today are going to be supporting other teams, and our fan base is going to get older and older. And eventually, maybe it'll take 10 years, we won't be the force that we are now. So I don't take anything for granted. People always say that we'll always be the greatest, the biggest supported club in the world, and we'll always be Man United and we'll always get through. But you can only go so far on that. At some point, you've got to start delivering. And that's why I feel that Ruben Amorim is going to survive at the moment, because I think if we were to get rid of him now, it would be another disaster, because we're basically in this groundhog situation. And we're making every time we start with a new manager, we're making ourselves weaker because we have to go out and spend more money. And they've just backed him. And it's almost got shades of last season, because they backed the manager, they gave him a load of money, and then a couple of months in, they got rid of him. The same thing could quite easily happen this time. They backed the manager, they're giving him new money. But, I think he'll at least survive until match day 8 when we play Liverpool. But before that, we've got Burnley on Saturday, we've got Man City away, and then we've got Chelsea. It's quite possible that when we play Liverpool, we might not have won a single game. And if we get to Liverpool and we lose that game, I think that's where his job will be on the line, because at that point, it will be, what it's going to be like. It's already bad enough after 3 games, isn't it? Imagine after 8 games and we haven't won.
I don't think it'll get to that, John. I think basically, I'm optimistic in saying that I think we should be able to get a result against Burnley. I'm not saying we will, but I'm saying that I think we should. We've got a tough one against Chelsea, but they're up and down because at the beginning of the season they didn't pull off results. You've got Liverpool that if you put them under pressure early enough, then you're seeing what they're like and seeing if they can hold up. They're very good at holding, giving you a little bit, and then coming back at you. Are we good enough? Are we technically good enough to be able to stay with them? Yes, I would say we are. But it all depends upon the drive of wanting it. Do we want it bad enough? And I don't think I've seen in the last two or three games, we go against Arsenal, the work rate, the togetherness seemed to work, but then it faded. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to see the hot and cold, because that won't get you anywhere but bottom part of the table. And United, as I said, John, United's shirt stays at the top. The players that can't do it, they stay at the bottom. The shirt will always be there, always be there, always be there. What you've got to do is find the players to go into that shirt to produce the type of football that we are used to and what we lead the world in. That's exactly right.
The frustrating thing from my point of view is I feel like we have got some really good players. We're just not getting the right combination to win football matches. And we know we could quite easily play Burnley and score quite a few goals. I mean, Sesko was a big, tall guy. Obviously, in the first half, we gave him a little bit of ammunition. He had a few chances, but didn't quite score a goal. He missed a bit of a sitter towards the end, which is a little bit worrying because he's a young guy still. And as we said previously on this podcast, he's only done it outside the Premier League, so he's got to do it in the Premier League. So he's got to prove himself. But, the frustrating thing for me is we have got some really good players, and it's the job of the coach to get the best out of those players. But then sometimes all you need is a good win, and a good win can, if we got a good win against Burnley, then we go into the game against City with a bit more confidence. And, he did sound a little bit like Arteta after the Arsenal game when he said we prove that we can win any game, because so far we haven't won a single game. But the reality is, in a way, he's right, because we have got players that could win any game. But unless we start performing as a team and don't give up too easily, and we're not too in and out and we can do it every week, we're going to be in the same situation as last season.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. The teams, City aren't exactly flying. Okay, there might be a percentage off at the moment. Might be a time to be able to have a crack at them and get something out of them. Liverpool would be exactly the same time. I think this is the time where every player should be fresh and wanting to play as hard as they can. You're playing against the top teams, would be lovely to go out and produce it and let people see that you are coming back, you are on your way back, and not just going through the motions to try and get back, but you are back. I look at different positions and the way they're playing and the type of football, and it doesn't impress me one little bit. And I'm a pro coach, and I'm used to seeing stuff. I have kids here that if they do what United did, I would have been on top of them. Why? Explain to me why you did that. Why aren't you putting your effort in? Why not? Doesn't just work with top pros, with top pros that are internationals. We have internationals all through our team, but can't pull off a result. I've got little kids that could play in the national team and that could pull off a result, but they're learning the game. These pros are there, and my players, I have a lot of players here that wear United shirts because of myself. They wear it because they love it. They've seen the highlights and everything else. So you're leaving something behind for them to be able to image and to get over. So not only is it here in Seattle where United, when I talk, people listen, but it's also when I go to England, people want to know. And it's lovely because when I go to certain things and I do what I do, say for instance a clinic, it's lovely to see the kids. They come out in their City jerseys, their United jerseys, and that's what fuels me. That's why I'm in development of youngsters, because I look at the big boys. They take that shirt off and it's gone, and they move on. But these little kids grow up to be supporters and players, and they're the future, and that's basically it. I watch United now because I am United. I am part of their history. I am part of the club. I'm part of their foundation. But so are so many others. The Robsons, the Giggses, and people like that. The Beckhams. I made a step for them to step on, and they stepped on it and carried it. They carried that candle, and the next people are carrying a candle. I can't see this candle. I'm sorry, but I can't.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, you represent Manchester United along with a lot of those other names that you've mentioned, but the reality is that the current players, they don't feel like that. They're mercenaries, like you said earlier. So we haven't got that representing Manchester United DNA through the whole football club. And that's why, for me, the academy is so important. I am worried that under Ruben Amorim, not necessarily because of him, I think there's other factors that have driven some of these players away, like Garnacho. I'm worried about Maino, but the reality is that we've had this record since October 1937 with an academy player in the first team matchday squad every single time since October 1937. But we're in danger of that record going, because the first two matches in the Premier League, we haven't had an academy player in the starting lineup, only on the bench. We've had Maino and Fredrickson. If they get injured, I mean, who's coming in? So, I worry that because of the PSR and the financial side of the game, which has become fundamental to being successful now, you've got to be able to trade players, that there's a real danger that we're going to sell Mainu. They've already fallen out with Garnacho. And I do have a little bit of criticism for Ruben Amorim. I know Garnacho is a young guy who's probably surrounded by the wrong people and does stupid stuff. But for me, that's one of the things that was great about Fergie. He used to sort out these players and make sure
Yes.
they behaved. And I feel like Amorim's got a habit of falling out too easily and giving up too easily on players. Okay, Rashford, he's had problems for a while, but I felt he didn't give enough time to try and fix Rashford. He hasn't given Garnacho enough time. He hasn't given Højlund enough time. He hasn't given Maino a big enough chance. He doesn't rate Onana. Maybe that's his own fault, but sticking on Onana, for me, we've got a few days left of the transfer window, and I feel like a whole season now, because we've lost confidence in our two goalkeepers, Bayenda and Onana. If we don't get a goalkeeper, I feel like our season is going to take a different direction, and I feel like it's absolutely crucial to get a goalkeeper. I mean, you as a former player, how badly does it affect a team if you lose confidence in the goalkeeper?
Oh my God, he's the last man at the back there. I mean, we looked at Big Al with his quality and his experience and his knowledge, and he would be able to sort out situations quite simply by being able to direct you and say you've got to be able to do this. Even though you would, I was up the other end and Alex was in the goal. At half time, he'd say, "Hey, Gordon," he said, "we need to be. You've got to be able to take him on." He said, "Take him on. Just keep taking him on." That's a goalkeeper saying that to a winger, to a forward, and yet we did it. We had Stevie, we had myself, we had Jimmy Greenough and Stewie Pearson. Not the biggest players in the world, but I tell you what, like that you would have to be very careful if you had a ball around them as a defender because they'd bite you. They'd come at you, and we've seen it again. We saw it. We saw it with Fergie's squad as well. With Fergie, and you're talking about the academy. Fergie won the lottery. He had 7 players that came through and got developed, which is breeding. Eric Harrison at the club and Brian Kidd done a fantastic job of developing these young players to come in, step into the first team. And Fergie was wise. He got Cantona and Keane to go in by the side, Bruce. So he got these players to complement these players, which developed into a world-beating team, which was fantastic to watch and fantastic. If they went down together. They went down. They didn't go down as a single person. They went down. You got people like Fernandez go down and think the world's at it. No, you all went, not just you. Don't you know? And so I think that's what's missing. But getting back to the academy side of it, the academy side of it is you've got to be able to have been there, seen it, and done it, to experience it, to pass it on. I mean, people say, and we hear the quote all the time, if only I had the experience then and the knowledge that I have now. Young head on old head on young shoulders. We always talk about that. That's part and parcel of life. But in the academy world, it always renowned that you developed your players from. I was at United TV and done most of the youth games when all these young players were coming through. And I could see the Scholeses, I could see the Giggses, I could see the Beckhams. I saw all these young players come through. You could see the players that may not have been developed into becoming a first team player. And slowly as they started to grow in the game, they moved on and the hardcore. But nobody has developed 7 players and had 7 players at their disposal. And that goes down to Brian Kidd and Eric Harrison developing those players. And let's not forget, Brian Kidd was a young Busby babe and knew the system coming through and installed that upon these players that he's got. So don't tell me that you got to get somebody new in. You get somebody with that experience. Me personally, I'd pull in the people like Brian Kidd now. Sit down and talk to him what it takes to develop. Scotty, come in now. Keno, come in now. Talk to us. What did you find the most as an academy player? What do you think? We've seen it. We got it. Fergie got 7 players there. So to me, yes, the academy, I think somewhere down the line it's lost. And I put it all back to the academics again. I really do.
We have still got kids coming through the academy, and
Yeah,
all
of
the
course we
young
have.
teams seem to be doing really well. But We've even got another Rooney on his way, who played for the under-18s and scored in his first game. But
Yes,
the problem is there's certain positions that you probably can't fill, like the goalkeeper.
correct.
When you're in this situation, doesn't it make it really difficult to turn to the academy and bring those into the first team starting lineup? I mean, maybe into the squad, but isn't it the wrong time to be relying on academy players to get us out of trouble?
Good question. Very good question indeed. But as we always said, if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Just another quick question, Gordon. I think, a lot of fans are going to be interested in, are we going to sign any more players before the window shuts? And, you don't have to give me names, but if you could sign one position, would you sign a goalkeeper? Would you sign a midfielder? What player do you think could help turn our season around? I mean, for me, it's the goalkeeper. Donnarumma was talking about being available and maybe going to Man City, but for me, I think I heard Wayne Rooney talk about Donnarumma and said we could probably get him for 40, 45 million. For me, that would be money well spent. And I think you hardly ever see in the modern game a team being successful without a successful goalkeeper. And
I totally agree. I think that should have been top of the priority list at the beginning. It's when I would have, when I found out when he went back, he'd done a hamstring and bits and pieces. I'd have sussed him out straight away. I would have had him. I'd have got out. I'd have got not shot of. I would have got him on his way, and I would have looked at a keeper that I could have brought. And there are a couple of keepers around that I'm not going to name because I don't want to put any names on the sheet. But there are a couple of keepers that I would be looking at, and I would look at a keeper that was. Number one, I'd look at a homegrown keeper like the Everton keeper. I think the goalkeepers now in the game have got to be looking at be able to represent their first team. The homegrown goalkeepers have got to be looking now. We had Alex, Paddy Roach. Paddy couldn't get in the team because Alex was doing such. But then if you look at what Fergie did, he's gone out and got Schmeichel. So you can't argue on that side of it. We've had all these great goalkeepers come through, but you've got to be a little bit special if you're if you're keeping the sticks at Old Trafford. I would have gone and I'd have spoken to De Gea way back to come in for Onana once I found out what he was pulling, what stunts he was put when he was hamstring. He's injured, comes back into a game. He gets a game after being out for so many times. I look at it and I'm going, hold on a minute, he's conning you. I mean, I'm a footballer. I know when people are conning. A pro knows when somebody is conning. That's part of being a professional. You know when you've been. You don't grow up saying, "Well, I'm naive to think he's going to do it." The goalkeeper position, I would have replaced him 3 months ago. I would have had a good chat with De Gea. I would have pulled De Gea in because the finances wouldn't have been astronomical, and I would have gone with his experience and asked him if he could develop and help with the younger goalkeepers coming through. And I would have started to develop that way. And we've seen the third string goalkeeper.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say, if we can't get Donnarumma, which I don't think we will do, I'd love to get David de Gea back on a one-season contract, because he's done it before. He knows the club and he can walk straight back into that team. And okay, he doesn't play out from the back in the way that Onana was supposed to be able to do, but I haven't seen any great evidence of Onana be able to play out from the back. I mean, he's been hopeless, to be honest.
I can't, John. I can't. I look at it. I can tell you, you can't give De Gea, who would be a number one for you, to help you out on a loan period. But then on the other side of it, you're looking at, say for instance, De Gea, but then you're giving Casemiro another contract, and you're giving other players contracts another season, when you really should have been shifting them players to bring in what you want. But De Gea, I would have met, because he knows the club, like you said, sat down, talked to him. David, I need you to come back again. Please let us know. No, I know. Onana, for me, both those goalkeepers are shy to me. And when the ball comes out,
I thought you said a different word then, Gordon, but
No, I
just before
didn't.
we
I
wrap
said
up,
shy.
that was probably the
Shy.
fans, but
That means they're a bit of afraid. They're a bit afraid to come out and get that. I mean, we've seen it. You know, shy,
maybe
John.
that was. I'm
Shy.
sure that wasn't. I wish that was a call from Man United for you to give them a little bit of help on the coaching side, because I know you still love to do that. But
Love to.
before we wrap up, because we've been going on as normal for we're coming up for the hour again, but just a question from one of the fans who watches our channel. We've got Martin Spencer, who says, ask Gordon, because you were talking before about you remember goals from your era and ones that you could have scored, but there's one here that you did score, which was disallowed. Ask Gordon if he remembers a goal at Ipswich in January 1977. Bobby Robson said, Hill struck the ball like a rocket. It was said that Jimmy Greenough was offside. No way did he interfere with play. Two goalkeepers would not have saved that one, and he applauded the strike. I wish he'd allowed the strike to stand. That was from Bobby Robson. I wondered if you remember that goal, Gordon, because I know you remember most of your goals, and that one was one that was ruled out.
I
I think it
do.
was a game that we lost.
I do. I do, because a good friend of mine, Russell Osmond, just brought that up the other day, because he was talking about Ipswich, and at that time they had a fabulous team, and of course I lost one of my best friends, Paul Mariner. So I always remember going in afterwards, and I mean that you're having a drink with the Ipswich players, and they turn around, and I know the goalkeeper Coops, I think he turns and he says, I never saw that ball. He said it went in so freaking. He said, how did you hit it from there? Because I remember it came over and it didn't even hit the ground. I was out, I think, just towards the outside of the box, and I hit it with my left peg, and it went so. But I'd practice. That's what I practice at. And Russell said to me, I had to go at the referee. He said, why did you disallow that? And the referee turned to Russell and said, because you're an Ipswich player and he's a United player. I had to give it as offside. He said, Jimmy Greenough. And he went, Jimmy he wouldn't have been anywhere near it if it had taken a bus. So, and I remember it because it was special. And as I said, I think you remember these ones. But you know, you get these types of things, and you hit them, and you remember them, and you remember ones you missed and everything else. But they're great memories, and the fields aren't any bigger, and the goals aren't any smaller. So it's something that I practice, and one came off. Well, a lot of them come off. Ray Wilkins said that quite a lot. I'd go out with England when we were training, and afterwards, they'd cross the ball for me to volley. And Ray Wilkins, God rest his soul as well, got a lovely, lovely friend. And he'd turn around and he'd just say that. And I can't swear, but he'd go, beep, beep, in Al Gordon. He said, how the do you hit that like that? And I said, and I just turned around, and it was purely just off. I just said, what corner do you want it in next? And he used to say, he said, I've never seen anybody. He said, you must be the best volleyer in the world. And it was an honour to have somebody of that calibre praise you for something like, and even Russell Osman and Kevin Beattie did exactly the same. It's not your talking point, but it's something that absolutely brings you together. Speciality in certain fields, which was great. I like the one where Frank Worthington lifted it over the defender's head, hit it on the volley, and I just said, pure class. That was Frank. But you remember these goals, and now it's, you get 50 million replays of them. Then you had one camera, and as you know, if you didn't follow it, you missed it.
Exactly, yeah. But that's what we got to watch football for, is for moments like that. And when you've got like
Yes.
one camera picking out a goal like your goal, or Frank Worthington, he was a genius, his amazing goal when he flicked it over, like you said, those memories live with you forever. And as Martin Spencer, our viewer, he says he's never forgotten, even though it didn't count. And he says, thank Gordon for the lifetime of memories that he gave us. And he says that on behalf of all fans, because all fans who remember you playing, Gordon, they love these memories and they love hearing you talking about them. And I hope that it's not too long before we get some memories from this current team. I do feel
Yes.
like with Cunha and Mboma, we've got players that can do a little bit of magic. But I'd like to see them be able to express themselves a little bit more, maybe in a system that wasn't so tactically game planned all the time. And I feel like if they could go
Rigid.
off, what I call go off piste a little bit and express themselves, I feel
Yeah.
like maybe that would be a way forward. But that's a general comment about football in 2025. I think a lot of coaches are like that. But anyway, Gordon,
I agree.
it's always good to talk to you, my friend. Thanks as always for giving us your time and your views. And until next time, I think we should call it a day.
Yeah, I can't say no more, John. I think we covered everything else. I think we're going away with a bit of light shining still. There's, keep the faith. And I said to United supporters, yeah, it may not be clever at the moment, but please, it will change. Football will change it, and we will get the nice times again. And I just say thank you very much for everybody. And any questions, please don't just throw them at us. You might not like the answers, but it's my views and it's John's views, and we really, really appreciate you. And keep our fingers crossed that we get results.
Hopefully we've got happier news next time. I would like to say that I did sound a little bit negative earlier on, but that's really my frustration as a fan who's been going for 60 years. I want to see better. And I have been looking on the dark side a little bit, but it's hard not to after you've watched your team get humiliated in what's probably, for me, the worst result in my lifetime. I can't remember a game that was worse than that. Certainly not against a lower team. I know we got knocked out by Milton Keynes in a League Cup game. They were in a third tier, but Grimsby fourth tier, and they deserved it. So let's end on a positive note and say congratulations to Grimsby, because they gave a lot of people a lot of entertainment on Wednesday night. And I think we shouldn't just talk about United being poor. We should also acknowledge the fact that Grimsby were absolutely superb, and good luck to them this season. They're unbeaten.
I totally agree. And I think everybody's got to, give you a pat on the back, because you're bringing these subjects to the forefront and you're letting people speak. And we're not trying to, we don't want to build up our numbers. We're not interested in that. We're trying to give our views to everybody. And it's our opinions and our opinions only. Yes, they're going to change. Yes, results are going to change. But this is how we feel about it. There is no BS.
We're not clickbait, are we? We're not in it for the clickbait, Gordon, are we? But we give our honest views, and people like it. Fantastic. If they don't, they know what to do with it. But anyway, Gordon, thank you again, and I'll see you next time, my friend.
Oh, by the way, if anybody would like to buy this photo here, this is a Rembrandt.
Was that your sister-in-law's painting? Is it?
That's my wife's sister. That she's paints them, and we've got them up around the house here. So it's really nice. She's a very accomplished artist. So
fantastic.
She's very good. But no, I think with you, John, I think it's great talking, and as I said, I can't ask for a better partner in this, except he can't play.
I did juggle the ball at Old Trafford in the season, but I only got to about 10.
I think everybody's got to know this man is a dancer.
Oh yeah,
he's a dancer. He's a tango man.
I do dirty dancing.
Ballroom dancing. It's what is it?
Dirty dancing, salsa and Latin.
Dirty dancing. Would you do it in the mud?
I'll have you know that I remember when Ian Dowie was manager of Crystal Palace, they were down near the bottom when he took over. And believe it or not, the first thing he did was take the whole squad to go salsa dancing. And they shot right up the table. I don't know if it was just down to the salsa dancing, but it does help you relax. And, I think a lot of the South American players, like the Brazilians, they sort of dance on the beach. And I'm sure it helps them with their body movement. Sometimes I feel like British players, we're strong and we're built in a strong way. But sometimes we need to be a little bit more flexible and get those hips going.
John, you go to Brighton Beach and try to dance on them pebbles, you break your freaking ankles. Because I tell you what, the British beaches ain't exactly sand. So, but it's great. I was a tap dancer once. Yeah. I tried tap dancing, but I gave it up when I broke my ankle when I fell off to sink.
There you go. I've heard that one so many times, Gordon. Next time we need to get you singing anyway, because I know you're a good singer.
Hold on.
I think we're both taking a laughing gas, but if anybody gets to this part of the program, they've done very well. But you'll leave the program with a smile on your face. I hope anyway.
Smile. It takes one muscle to smile and 24 to frown.
Absolutely.
Don't ask me. Ask the academics.
Yeah. I'm going to call it a night, Gordon. We're up to an hour, so that was an hour blockbuster. See you next time.
Great,
mate.
John. God
Ciao.
bless everybody. Speak to you soon, John.
Bye.